You are now listening to WSN, Wolf Sports Network.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
And some of the top interviews in sports radio.
Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson.
This is Joe Urso, five-time national champion head baseball coach for the University of Tampa.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is President Brendan Kelly. You're listening to Sports Pack.
You know what time it is. Wolves country,
let's ride.
It's a beautiful Monday night in the city of Carrollton, Georgia, and you are listening to the best radio show in the land, Sports Pack. I'm joined by Gianna, Richard, Gavin. We got Kennedy, one of the wits, shadowing the board, having a great time. Round of applause for this is your sports director, Brendan Willoughby Ray, kicking things off. We have a huge show ahead of you. Brought to you by Dine West. Remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC. We got some NFL on deck, NBA, college basketball. We are bringing a debate to you tonight to end the show. The second debate of the semester is going to get absolutely wild. But a lot of you tuning in right now are tuning in for one man and one man only. Mr. Davin Wydner, UWG quarterback, transferred from Ole Miss. We had him in for an interview last week. It was an amazing time. Check it out.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby. Go Wolves. Now it's time for an exclusive Wolf Sports Network Sports Pack interview with UWG quarterback Davin Wydner. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Pretty good. How's UWG treating you so far?
It's been great. You know, I still don't know my way around campus just yet, but been here about 6-7 weeks, and I love it so far.
So what was it about UWG that kind of secured your commitment here?
So it was an interesting story. We played in the Peach Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and we played that game on the 30th of December. And I kind of had it in my head, you know, the portal and how things work nowadays. And so, I kind of took a shot in the dark. Obviously, my time at Ole Miss was awesome, but, I didn't get to play much, not a lot of film. And, the transfer portal can be scary. A lot of people get left in it. But, fast forward, I decided to do it, make the jump. And I took my visit 4 days later. I came here January 3rd and the 4th. And, everything here and everything that was, said just really, it's everything about the future in this upcoming season. And obviously the big jump to Division I FCS is definitely huge for the program. But when I came here, it was kind of just like a no-brainer. I had a couple other visits set up afterward, and I ended up canceling them. And I ended up just committing and signing everything on my visit here.
That's awesome.
Now, Joel Taylor brought in Dane Stevens, the new offensive coordinator here at West Georgia. He was the quarterback's coach at Ole Miss. How impactful was that relationship in your decision choosing West Georgia?
I believe it was almost everything. In college and the way the world works right now, with the transfer portal and coaches leaving, it's really hard to find people that you trust. And throughout my 2 years at Ole Miss, Coach Stevens was nothing but, respectful and honest and truthful with me. So when I did decide to enter the portal and he reached out to me afterward, it was, I just had to, throw out the common courtesy to at least take the visit. And then, everything that he said and Coach Taylor said just really stuck with me and really played a really, really big factor into me coming here.
Now, a minute ago, you talked about how your time at Ole Miss was short, so you didn't really have much to put on tape in regards to entering the transfer portal. So can you, describe your play style for a lot of eager West Georgia fans that really want to see what Davin Wydner has to offer?
Yeah, obviously our offense here is going to be up tempo, and I feel like it was just the offense for me. Obviously, I'm a little bit bigger in stature. I'd prefer not to run if I don't have to.
Right.
That's why we have the great receivers and the great running backs that we do, so I can give them the ball. So really, it's just I'm just here to distribute the ball to the playmakers on the field and just do it to the best of my ability and do it as efficiently as possible.
Okay, so last season you had a medical red shirt, so you're going in with 4 years of eligibility. Talk to me about your recovery process, how you're feeling now, and how everything's going very early on in this process.
Yeah, no, it feels great. That's one of the biggest takeaways that I had from Ole Miss was I tore my ACL about a little bit ago, and that's obviously public information. And I made an awesome 5.5, 6 month recovery from something like that, and they did a really good job of helping me. So that also gave me confidence to kind of hit the portal and be ready if the opportunity present itself to come out and obviously play in this spring, which is huge. And then be ready to roll by when the fall rolls around.
So you will be full go for spring practice, for the spring game, everything like that?
Yes, no doubt. I've since we've been here, I've been 100%. Every workout, every type of variation they throw at us, I've been perfectly healthy, cleared by doctors, and I'll be just fine.
All right, that's incredible. Aaron Rodgers style recovery. Love to see it.
One of the things I've noticed about this Joel Taylor-led football team very early on is basketball games. You guys are there. I saw the other day UWG had a tennis match. Whole team was there. Talk about how this brotherhood is forming so early and how it is being out there, supporting not just, the popular West Georgia sports, but every single West Georgia sport.
Yeah, I think that's a big point that the coaching staff wanted to make, and it's been awesome that all the players have, just obliged and shown up and supported, the athletes around us. And I think it's huge, especially making the jump that we're making to go out in the community and show our support, whether it is athletically or just to the regular people of Carrollton. So, I mean, that was a big emphasis on Coach Taylor that we're going to go and support. We'd obviously love their support back when our games roll around, but it was definitely on the forefront for us early on to go out and reach out and show some support.
Yeah, that's another thing I've like Coach Taylor's brand new, so a lot of us don't really know him, but he's already making a very great impression with the students, fans, like you said, just people of Carrollton all around. Letting his face be known, having the having the football team at every event, supporting every single athletic team. He makes sure he's at every single place. And then he's even doing this little VIP with Coach Taylor thing on Saturday at the basketball games. How do you feel about the culture he's building? Because from the outside looking in, it looks incredible.
Yeah, I think that's the word to describe it. Obviously, it's early on, and it's a new group, new coaching staff. But I think if you don't establish a culture to begin with, then obviously everything that follows afterward is an example of that. Right. So I think our coaching staff has taken a great approach in regards to how we should operate as a unit and as a group. And it's been awesome to see, myself and everybody else, kind of on the team, just going right along with it and just hitting it with no hesitation.
We have a lot of athletes come in, and one of the things we love asking them is who they model their game after, who they see themselves as, who they aspire to be. So are there any quarterbacks in the NFL that you grew up watching in college that you model your game after?
I think everybody has, obviously, their types. I don't like to it's hard to pinpoint one because every NFL quarterback is obviously great at a lot of things, but obviously better at some things than others, just off of, body type and kind of what you see on TV anyway. I love Josh Allen. I wish I could spin a ball like Aaron Rodgers does. That'd be awesome. Yeah, and then obviously just the mentality and the attitude of obviously Tom Brady. So, I mean, obviously everyone kind of has the same answers in that aspect, but if I had to pick one, it'd be most likely Josh Allen, just because of growing up. His story isn't exactly the same as mine, but it's kind of he always feels like he was, kind of put on the back burner for a lot of people, and nowadays he's considered with Mahomes and people of that category. So I really love what he does.
You know, and now that we're talking about NFL quarterbacks, it's natural to pivot into this. So, what does your Mount Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks look like? Because a lot of people, it's Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, but a lot of people, even people on this set right now, are thinking that Patrick Mahomes is kind of making his way for the GOAT push already. Like, if he was to retire now, he might have beaten Tom Brady out. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, to address the Mahomes situation, it's so hard because he's so different.
Yeah.
You know, Brady has the wins and the team and the culture and the leadership aspect, and Mahomes brings this new age style of quarterback that everyone wants to recruit. So I don't know if he's on mine just yet. But if I had to pick 4, it'd be Brady, Marino, even though he never won a ring, Montana, and then from a talent aspect, I think I'm going to throw Michael Vick in there.
Ooh.
That's a really hot one.
Okay, see, that caught me off guard.
But he was one of the first to do, you know, this new age style of dual threat quarterback, and he could also flick a ball 70 yards, which I would, you know, almost kill for.
Yeah, I feel that. But see, the argument I always make is, like, I argue him as my GOAT all the way around. Just from a talent aspect, I look at Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I feel like he has, in his prime, Aaron Rodgers had the best of all of it. The accuracy, touchdown, interception ratio. He has some pretty good mobility. It's slept on, and his arm strength is crazy. Like, I'm always arguing that Aaron Rodgers is my GOAT. Just like from a pure talent perspective, like you're evaluating him as like a quarterback prospect, I would think Aaron Rodgers is the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But Mahomes is making his way in there.
I would agree with Rodgers because he's made adaptations throughout. Like, if you watch him at Cal, it's a totally different guy than what he is at 30-something years old.
Exactly.
That he is now. And I think that his ability to adapt is why he's so successful.
But
so I agree.
To defend the Michael Vick pick, I think a lot of people don't realize. They look at his stats. Oh, he never threw for 3,000 yards as a Falcon. But the thing is, he was in the I formation, okay? Those were archaic old offenses that he was making look great. If you take a Lamar Jackson offense and put Michael Vick in it, he could be an MVP too.
It would be ridiculous.
So,
and like right as they were changing the scheme, got new coaches and everything in, the dog thing happened. So it's like it all went downhill right as they were starting to change it.
But those first few years in Philly were fun.
Yeah. With Deshaun Jackson.
Well, that's all the time we have today with UWG quarterback Davin Wydner. Thank you so much for coming out, man. Hopefully get you back in soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Man, we all had a great time doing that interview. And I'm sure you, America, listening out there, had a great time listening to that interview. And, you know, if you just had such a great time, you're worried that you won't be able to experience that high again. You won't be able to have that great of a time again.
Brandon, what are you talking about?
Worry not.
Oh.
Because I have an event for you. Wolfstock 2024. Come out and enjoy the live music, the banging food, the fun games, and more. Thursday, April 4th, 2024 from 6 to 9 p.m. live in the Campus Center Ballroom. This is the biggest concert event at the University of West Georgia, the biggest concert event in the city of Carrollton, dare I say, all of Carroll County. This is an incredible event. You have to come out and experience the hype. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, and Illuminated Productions.
In the NFL, only one thing matters: chasing a dynasty.
Now, my latest mock draft is my NFL mock draft 1.0. It's up on the website right now. I only have 3 quarterbacks going in the first round.
Shameless plug.
Caleb Williams, as we know, number 1. I got Mr. Drake May going number 2 to the Commanders.
Right.
Then number 3, I got Jaden Daniels going to the New England Patriots. Or I'm sorry, the Patriots trade back from number 3. The Raiders jump up and get him with the 3rd overall pick. Right. But I've been hearing a lot about the Patriots. They're looking at their options. They're actually very likely now to stay in that number 3 slot. And again, a lot can change after the combine, which actually started today.
As well, sticking number 3.
Exactly, but they'll probably look at their options. That's the cheapest option for 4 or 5 years. Get your guy. If he's really good, you have a great window to win. It's probably what they're going to do. But my mock draft that's dropping tomorrow morning on wolfsportsnetwork.com, Brennan's NFL mock draft 2.0, I have a 4th quarterback going in the 4th round.
First round.
I'm sorry, in the first round. I said 4th way too early because it's my 4th quarterback going in the top 10 of the first round. I got the Raiders trading up to number 9 and getting one J.J. McCarthy out of the University of Michigan. Now, I
God,
know
here we go.
your jaws are probably on the floor right now, and that's okay. But what I'm projecting is going into this combine, I think J.J. McCarthy is going to wow a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to start looking at J.J. McCarthy and saying, is there a debate that he's QB3? Not is there a debate if he's QB5? Because I think we're going to end up looking at Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy as closer prospects than looking at J.J. McCarthy versus Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Because as great as they are, they're both 24 going on 25. We look at J.J. McCarthy, he's 20 years old. He won a national championship. He has an incredible arm. He's great outside the pocket. He has the traits that it takes to succeed in the NFL. All the tools are in the toolbox. Richard, what do you think about J.J. McCarthy as a potential top 10 pick?
I understand what you're saying, and we see combine jumps each and every single year. We saw it last year with Anthony Richardson, who was already projected to go first round because of his upside. Then he blew everybody away in the combine. J.J. McCarthy is a great athlete. He has a very strong arm, and he's very young. He's 20 years old, just come off a national championship. Yes, sure. But he does not have the ceiling of a guy like Anthony Richardson. So seeing him jump from where he is now, projected to go mid-first round, early to mid-second round, to a top 10 pick, I think it's a bit much, especially for a team like the Raiders, a team that is not far away from contention. You're drafting a guy that everybody is viewing, even if he does blow you away in the combine. Listen, you're not playing a real game in the combine. You're throwing against air. Anybody can look good throwing against air if you have a little bit of practice. I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I'm just saying the Raiders are taking a bigger swing than they would be if they drafted any of these other guys because they're going for a straight-up project. I wouldn't mind it at all if they moved up into third, like how you said in your first mock draft, and had them drafting Jaden Daniels instead. But when you look at a guy like J.J. McCarthy, yeah, he's young and has a lot of upside, but this Raiders roster is a team that could honestly compete now. I feel like they're looking at what they have. It's not half bad. The receiving core is good with Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. You have guys, you have a squad, you have Max Crosby on this defense, and you're looking like, okay, if we plug a right quarterback in here and fill in adequate spots, over these next 2 and 3 years, we could really make a push. With a guy like J.J. McCarthy, we already didn't see much from him in college, so everything is based off potential. Well, how about this? There's a what if he pans out and turns into a superstar? Yes. But what if he doesn't? What if he ends up being exactly what he was in college? A game manager, a hand the ball off, fall behind this dominant run game, but oh wait, we don't have a dominant run game, now he looks bad. You're taking too big of a gamble in the top 10 taking J.J. McCarthy. And if you want a guy, outside those top three, take a guy that you know what you have with them. One of the older guys like Michael Penix, like Bo Nix, guys that have balled out. Bo Nix changed the trajectory of his whole career. I'm still in love with Michael Penix. I know a lot of people would diss them. They're talking about the way he throws the ball, his injury history, but the guy can flat out ball. You cannot take that from him at all. So if you're the Raiders and you want to take a big swing at quarterback that early in the top 10, then you take one of those other guys.
Yeah, to add on, I kind of want to talk about Bo Nix and Michael Penix, some other guys. When you're looking at the talent, right, those guys are just as talented as J.J. McCarthy, if not more talented. And it's kind of skewed, right? Because as Richard was saying, we didn't really get to see much of J.J. McCarthy when he was at Michigan because that game plan was, we're going to rely behind our power running, and every now and then we'll get you to throw a couple 20-yard passes, maybe a couple like check downs. So it's kind of tough because J.J. McCarthy can go and have one of the best performances in the combine that we've ever seen from a quarterback, but who else had a performance like that? Zach Wilson. And I'm not saying that they're the same guys, they're the same quarterbacks, right, but that performance is skewed, right? I agree with you, Richard. Guys can look really good at the combine, get into the league, and all of a sudden they're absolutely terrible. They can't make reads in game, things like that. If I'm J.J. McCarthy, I'm not sure if I would fit as a top 10 pick because those squads are, like you said, looking to win now because a lot of those teams are one pick away. A lot of those teams are just a couple adjustments away from really contending. I don't think J.J. McCarthy brings that level of talent to a team to be able to take them and push them over the edge. Comparing him to like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, I'd still take guys like that over J.J. McCarthy in the later rounds because if I'm looking at maybe like a mid-second round pick and I need a quarterback, I'm a team that needs a quarterback. For example, if Atlanta doesn't get a quarterback in the top 10, right, and I'm looking in the second round, if I'm looking at J.J. McCarthy, I'm looking at Bo Nix, I'm looking at Michael Penix, McCarthy's not going to be my first pick out of those three guys, even though he might fit the run scheme that Atlanta has built with Bijan and Algier with a couple other position players outside, as receivers and tight ends, but I'm not looking at J.J. McCarthy and saying that's the guy I want. I'm looking at Bo Nix, who he's a little bit older, he's a little bit more experienced. He's shown that he has talent. He can take a game over. Same thing with Michael Penix. So I'm not sure if I'm sold on J.J. McCarthy being a top 4 quarterback, and I'm not even sold on him being a top 10 pick.
Exactly. And here's another thing with J.J. McCarthy. I've also watched his tape, and I see the potential. I see what he can do with his legs. He does have a strong arm that he hasn't gotten to show off as much. But why are you going to spend a top 10 pick on a guy that has only been in an extremely comfortable system? Listen, the games where everything breaks down, where they can't run the ball because they got behind too fast, was against Georgia, where he was splitting with Cade McNamara, and against TCU last year, and we saw what happened in that game. While there were some times where he did throw the ball deep, hit a few shots, he turned the ball over a lot. Every time the game breaks down and they can't fully rely on that run game, when things go south, when you have to pass to win the game, J.J. McCarthy hasn't looked as sharp. He's turning the ball over, interception. There'll be some great plays mixed in there, but when they have to throw the ball when the run game isn't available, he has not looked great whatsoever. So I'm not going to go to a guy that has only looked comfortable in a comfortable system. They run the ball like what, 60% of the time, 60-70% of the time. You don't want a guy that has never just had to straight up pass to win a game, because every time he's had to pass to win a game, they've lost.
Correct.
And then even if you look at this Ohio State game this past year, they won. They had to throw the ball a lot more because Ohio State limited the run. And there were a few dropped interceptions in that game. They ended up winning it, but there were some drop picks. He gave the defense some chances to make plays. I like J.J. McCarthy. I see the upside, but top 10, I'm not taking that risk.
And one more thing, sorry, I know, Brandon, you want to talk about it, but one more thing. These teams that have these top 5 picks, have the top 10 picks, a lot of them, the ones that are looking for a quarterback, have dealt with inconsistencies from that position for way too long, especially the Raiders. Derek Carr, very inconsistent. Yes, he led them to a couple winning seasons, maybe one playoff run, but other than that, he was a very inconsistent player. Jimmy Garoppolo came to Las Vegas, and they were like, okay, he's going to be the answer. Very inconsistent. He fell off. Now they're with Aiden O'Connell. So it's like a team like the Raiders, they're looking for a guy that they can 100% trust, a guy that's going to come in and take the game over, and J.J. McCarthy's not that.
Here's my point. I look at these teams, right? Let's look at the Raiders, right? They're 13th. They're picking 13th overall. Let's look at the Broncos picking 12th. Let's look at the Vikings picking 11th, right? They all need quarterbacks going forward. A lot of people think Kirk Cousins is probably going to leave in free agency. Obviously, the Broncos probably going to lose Russell Wilson. He's already selling his house. Raiders, cutting Jimmy G. They don't got a quarterback. I look at it in two ways. The first way, you look at these quarterbacks. If you draft a guy, it's for potential, it's for upside. If you want to take a guy that's a little bit older, you think you can win now with, that's when you go get a Kirk Cousins in free agency. That's even when you trade for a Justin Fields, because I'm on the board with Atlanta signing Kirk Cousins over trading for Justin Fields. But honest to God, if I'm Minnesota, if I'm Denver, if I'm the Raiders and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Michael Penix and looking at Bo Nix. You're both 24. Michael Penix, bad injury history. Bo Nix, questionable ceiling. If I'm drafting someone, I'm going for someone like J.J. McCarthy, where, yes, we didn't see it in college, but the arm is there. The moxie is there. He's a winner. He's incredible outside the pocket. He has the tools to succeed with the right coaching staff. Yes, Richard, he was in a great situation in Michigan, but you have to believe that the athleticism, the way that he can process his abilities are going to pay off at the next level. I'm not going to draft a guy like Michael Penix or Bo Nix when I can go out there and get a Kirk Cousins, get a Justin Fields, because I don't see those guys as long-term solutions. I don't think those are guys that are going to develop into stars in this league. I think what we're seeing right now is their peak. I hate to say it, it's the same thing for Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett could be a fine quarterback. He could, potentially develop into a top 15 type guy, but he's never going to be a superstar. When you waste a first-round pick on a player, you are praying and hoping they turn into a superstar. Bo Nix is not a superstar. Michael Penix is not a superstar.
But listen,
J.J. McCarthy can become a superstar.
But real quick, you're talking about Michael Penix as is not going to really develop past what he is. First of all, we don't know that, but what he already is a flat-out dynamic passer. So if Michael Penix is able to take the game that he had these past 2 years in Washington and bring it to the NFL, that's putting him as one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. What he already is coming out of Washington is outstanding. If you watch what he did this past year at Washington, it is ridiculous. The arm talent, the accuracy, dude, you can't drop some of those passes in there any better. So say he doesn't get better, say he gets in exactly how he left off in Washington, that makes him one of the better quarterbacks in the league currently.
Man, I cannot wait for our debate segment to talk more NFL, but the best place, not only in Carrollton, not only in the greater West Georgia area, but I'm going to say in the world to watch sports of all shapes and sizes is Jefferson's in Carrollton on their 20 flat screen TVs at their full bar with 16 draft beers. Please drink responsibly. They also have a beautiful covered porch and an outdoor area for cornhole. Whether it's the big game or you want a chill afternoon with friends and family, Jefferson's in Carrollton is your full stop for fun. Located at 342 Maple Street in Carrollton, Georgia. Visit their website at jeffersons.com and follow them on Instagram at jeffersons_Carrollton. Now, a quick break. And when we come back, it's NBA time, baby. You're listening to Wolf Sports Network.
Hey guys, this is Bobby Butler, and you're listening to Sports Pack only on the Wolf Sports.
What's going on, y'all? This is Richard Reed here. Just here to remind y'all that we are indeed a radio station first, and as of right now, we're taking a song break. So if you're watching on either YouTube or Twitch, go to wolfsportsnetwork.com, click that play button in the top of the screen, and listen to the great music that we're playing. Then when the song breaks over and we come back live, either stick around in the radio stream or come on back over to YouTube or Twitch and check out the rest of the show. We'll be back soon.
On Sports Out of Pocket, we have a brand new segment called The Lottery, where we talk about the players that we're high on and low on. Like how we're high on Halliburton turning around this Pacers franchise, and how we're low on Bryce Young for sucking it up with the Panthers.
Whoa. Come on now. That wasn't his fault.
Okay, fair enough. But still, listen to The Lottery on Sports Out of Pocket for more opinions on young players in the league. Sports Out of Pocket every Wednesdays at 5, only on Wolf Sports Network.
In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Printer's Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network Drink Responsibly campaign to remind you there is no drinking under the age of 21. Never drink and drive, even if it's just one beer. And add a little food and water when you drink so you don't end up texting your ex. Know your limits.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Schroeder, LeBron!
The last few days have been a roller coaster for Atlanta Hawks fans because, Sunday.
What else is new?
Well, it was announced that Trae Young's out indefinitely. He's going to be reevaluated after 4 weeks. And most Hawks fans looked and said, man, our season is over. And then last night had a huge win against a really good team, 109-92 over the Orlando Magic, led by DeJounte Murray's 25 points, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds, looking like prime San Antonio DeJounte Murray. Now, this begs the question. If the Atlanta Hawks continue this level of performance, if DeJounte Murray goes full on 25, 10, and 10, flirting with a triple-double every single game, does this mean the Atlanta Hawks should look at trading Trae Young in the offseason and going with DeJounte Murray as their man of the future, as their point guard, as their guy? Or is that crazy? Even if the Hawks have a pretty good run, should they stick with Trae as the guy, having one of his best seasons before he was out for 4 weeks? We don't know. It could be, like I said, the 4 weeks he gets reevaluated. It could be 2 months, could be 3 months. No one knows how long he'll be out. But DeJounte may be the hot hand. They might ride him, and guess what? It might end up working out really well for the Atlanta Hawks. So what do we think?
I don't think we need to just flat out be like, DeJounte's our guy now. Let's all get rid of Trae. I don't think that's what we need to do. But I do think we need to reevaluate Trae's role on our team if, while he's injured, we just go on a really good run. Like, I was devastated like any other Hawks fan last night, really yesterday when I got the news. And I was like, our already shaky season is now kind of even more in shambles. So I was devastated. I was upset. And I initially wasn't even going to watch the game last night because I was like, I don't want to be like disappointed. But then I was like, no, let me watch the game and just see where we are as a team. Because we got Clint Capella back, but now Onyeka Okongwu is out because he injured his left toe or something. So we kind of have a better, we lost one big, but then we gained another, and then we lost Trae, and then we still kind of have DeJounte. So, but the game ended up being really good. For a while, it was very close, back and forth. So many lead changes, so many ties. But in the third quarter, really in the entire second half, we just took off. And usually the third quarter is our worst quarter. Yep. It's where we lose games. It's where we've been losing games this season. But we just had an exceptional second half last night. So I think if we can continue like that, we can. I want to say we're going to do anything huge. We can do a little something. But even though I am excited about this win and how we perform without Trae, I would like to point out that this is the Magic. They have been very successful this season, but they've kind of dialed down as the season's gone on. And they were also without their star, Paolo Banchero. So
Yeah, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, yeah. So I was impressed with the win, but there were a lot of factors that I think went into it.
I think that the Hawks' fundamental issues are not whether or not Trae Young is on the court. I think that it comes down to a lot of just scheme. Quinn Snyder is still, relatively early in his coaching career in Atlanta, so I feel like he's still trying to kind of figure out the roster a little bit. But one thing you might notice, if you look over the course of history since we've gotten DeJounte Murray, when one of them's off the court, the other one's exceptional, and vice versa. There may be a couple games here and there where they both have a really solid performance together, but for the most part, that court is too crowded with both of them on it. And it's mostly because DeJounte is a true point guard to me. He's never been a shooting guard. He's never been a guy that's just going to post up and shoot. That's what we have Bogdan Bogdanovic for.
Yes.
He's the guy that you're going to get the ball to him. He's going to shoot, right? So when I look at DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, it's too crowded. And I thought that as soon as the news broke that we first got him, a while back, I was excited, but I was hesitant because I knew Trae Young is the guy that's going to dish out those assists. But at the same time, DeJounte should be playing that role on our team as well. And you kind of saw that last night. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at it this way. Trae Young is the center of our franchise. And I know I've had my issues with him over the years. I've had moments where I thought maybe we should trade him. But at this point, if we're going to trade anyone, it's going to be DeJounte between the two.
Yeah.
And I only say that because DeJounte is still playing at a level where he is worth a lot right now. And you know what we really need? We need a solid big man. Because there's no reason Jalen Johnson should be out rebounding Clint Capella any night. I get Jalen Johnson's phenomenal talent. Jalen Johnson had 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. You know how many rebounds Clint Capella had? 7 to his 10. That just shouldn't happen. It might not be that much of a difference number-wise, but at the same time, Clint Capella, we got him four boards, because that's what we were struggling with. That was the whole point of it. And I get Onyeka Okongwu's out, but at the same time, he was never really our true center anyway.
No,
Clint Capella has always been. So if anything, I think we trade DeJounte to go get a big man, and that way you take some pressure off Jalen Johnson. He doesn't have to worry about getting as many rebounds. He can just focus on scoring, which is what he does best. I think that our roster just needs to be fundamentally changed. I don't think it's necessarily on Trae Young being out, on Trae Young being in, regardless of the fact. Our team is good, except the roster just doesn't fit our play style. That's my issue. And I think that we have to find a way to get a big man on the court that's better than Clint Capella. Shoot, trade DeJounte and Clint Capella for a guy. Clint Capella's still got some worth, and if a team is really looking for, a pure guard that they really need, then send him. I'm fine with that, because at that point you restructure that Hawks roster. All of a sudden you're going to see we're winning a lot more games.
Honestly, I really even though I do like having DeJounte, I do like having Clint. They obviously add things to our team, but I really agree with maybe trading Clint, because although since he is a veteran, he adds some of that experience to whatever team he goes to. He's still a solid player, but I would rather see someone who would be a true center who's really going down there and crashing the boards, which is, like you said, what we need.
Because at that point, I mean, our offense is we run a lot of pick and roll,
yes,
schemes, and then the occasional pass out to shoot, and it just doesn't fit our roster now.
My only defense for keeping Clint is that when you watch those games, he is fighting down there to get rebounds, even though it doesn't look like it on the stat sheet. He is fighting down there to get rebounds, he offensive rebounds, to get a second chance shot. So that would really be my only argument to keep him.
Now, I just want to throw this out there, right? Because it was reported last week the Lakers have 3 targets this offseason. Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, and 1 Trae Young. Now, say Trae's out a few months. Hawks look really good without him. DeJounte, he comes along, averages, like I said, somewhere around 20, 10, and 10, looking like that Spurs DeJounte of old. If you're the Hawks, you got to sit down and you got to consider DeJounte's value and Trae's value right now is about an ocean apart. Trae's going to bring in a lot more. You can look at the Lakers. You can build a 3-team deal where LeBron gets one more shot at a ring, because imagine that Trae Young and Anthony Davis pick and roll. I mean, it's smooth as butter. It's incredible to imagine. And then we look at what Atlanta can get back in terms of assets. Maybe a third team ships them a star. Maybe they're able to sign someone like a Paul George, go out and get a good free agent, have DeJounte as your main man, because Trae's great. He's proved me wrong. He's had the best season of his career so far when he's been healthy. But I am looking at the future of this franchise. As a Miami Heat fan, I don't want them to do well, but guess what? Atlanta, they have some young guns. They got some weapons. They have some guys that can develop into really nice pieces going forward, trying to build a championship team. I feel like at some point you got to look at Trae and say, are we really going to win a championship with this core? And what is the best piece that we can get rid of, bring value back, and build a championship level team? I feel like trading Trae Young potentially in the offseason makes more sense, because DeJounte at his peak is going to give you great, well-rounded production. But at the same time, DeJounte is not going to be, you're not going to get as much back for him. You could trade him, but you're not going to get back what you're going to get with Trae Young. That's why you have to look at it. Now, I was in Charleston this past weekend, and the food was out of this world. It was amazing. I mean, boxcar Betty's, glass onion. Everywhere I went, it was just amazing. And when I left Charleston, I was like, man, I'm so upset. I can't get great food like this anywhere in the state of Georgia. It's just, it's true. You really can't. But then I remembered one place, one beacon of light, one beacon of hope. Jefferson's in Carrollton with the best food in the state of Georgia. It's dine in or carry out. They have online ordering that fits any schedule and any need. Make sure you download their app now for Jefferson's in your belly later. Jefferson's in Carrollton's open Sunday to Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Thursday to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton and visit their website at jeffersons.com.
It may not be March, but the madness has already begun.
Up in time, Clark for the win! Yeah! There's a takeaway and a run out the poster. Dante Scott absolutely throttles the rim.
Taylor Swift said karma's the guy on the Chiefs. I'm starting to believe karma is the coach on the Cats, because for all the trash that I talked about, those Kentucky Wildcats, they said, Brendan Willoughby Ray, watch this. And on Saturday, they shellacked the Alabama Crimson Tide 117-95. They outscored all 6 NBA teams playing on Saturday with 117 points. They went crazy, shot over 50% from deep. The game was never close. Kentucky got out to a lead, held it. They were phenomenal. Jackson Ball is going crazy in the background. Kentucky right now looking great. They've been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde all year long. Richard, you said so in our chat.
That's what I was saying last week, too.
So what do we make of this Kentucky team? I'm going to throw it to you first. What do we make of them? Are they a true national championship contender, or is this just a flash in the pan?
I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about last week. Any team that can just cut it on like this is a national championship contender. Because in the tournament, now they're great teams up and down the tournament. It's about defense, about all these kind of things. But it's mainly about being hot at the right time. And we've seen this Kentucky team have games like, now the game they had against Alabama was ridiculous, something like we've never seen this year. But we've seen them have great games like that throughout the season. So it's really, can they get hot and bottle it up and carry it on throughout the tournament? Because if they can, there aren't too many teams that can just flat out run with this Kentucky team. Now, shooting 50% from 3, that's insane. But more pedestrian numbers, even if they're shooting like 36, maybe 40% from 3, they are still one of the best teams in the country when it comes to outright scoring. Now, Alabama is also one of the best, so it's going to be fun to see them score off again probably in the SEC tournament. But like we talked about it in depth a lot last week, but Kentucky is one of those teams that when they're hot, it's going to be hard to stop them. So if they get hot in the tournament, you can see them making a very, very far run.
Yeah, I agree with you. But, I mean, it's like you said, it's like getting hot but also staying hot, because like we said before, this Kentucky team has been very inconsistent, and that's where I have problems with them.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, I look at Kentucky and I see a team that's, like I said, wildly inconsistent. They have the talent, they have the depth. If this team gets hot at the right time, it's a team that can win the national championship. But if this team gets off to a poor start in the round of 64, they're going home. So honestly, and guess what? They're probably going to be a 5 seed. So we all know the 5-12 matchup is where most of the upsets happen in the first round of March Madness, and they're going to be right for the picking, honestly, because Kentucky, they're hot and cold. They're they're like those really, like, I don't want to say old showers, but those really finicky showers where it's like you turn the knob a little bit, it gets like piping hot, and you turn a little bit to the right, and it's like freezing cold.
Exactly
That's the
right.
Kentucky Wildcats. And you know what, Richard? You've been making a big stink about Kansas, UConn. One team you haven't been talking about has shot up to number 1 in the polls. The Houston Cougars, right now, the number 1 team in the country according to the AP poll. What are our thoughts about Houston?
I mean, they're exactly what they've been each and every single year. They're undersized, yes. They're ferocious defensively. I feel like I need to get a new word, man. I use ferocious too much. But they're great defensively, outstanding even, and they have extremely great guard play. Jamal Shedd is probably one of the most underrated point guards in the country. And they also have L.J. Cryer, who did a few years at Baylor when they won the national championship. They can outright outscore anybody from a guard perspective, and that's what's most important in the tournament, guard play and defense. A few years back, we saw them make a pretty deep run. These past 2 years, they've had some early exits. But, yeah, you're right. Houston shot up number 1. They've been in that top 5 all year long. They're a very good team, and they can really make a run here. Now, even though they're number 1 right now and UConn's number 3, I still think pound for pound, UConn is the best team in the country.
I agree.
And I think this is the best Purdue team that we've seen the past few years. But there isn't just an outright alpha dog. I can see any of these teams rising to the occasion at any time. We've seen Houston look ugly and drop some games sometime, but it's really about their guard play and shooting. If their guards are on, they're going to be right defensively no matter what. Then they'll be good and they'll make a deep run. But really, it's a lot of teams that I can see doing things. Houston, I haven't talked about much, like you said, but they're one of them that can still make a very deep playoff push.
Now, looking at Houston, I look at their schedule. They, all season long, they haven't really played extremely tough competition until as of late. Yeah. They played Kansas, they played Iowa State, they played Baylor. Those are the top 3 games, I think, that the top 3 matchups they've had.
Those are all top 15 matchups.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that all came as of late. And yes, they're 2-1 in those 3 games, but at the same time, all season long they've been winning. But they've been winning against teams like Texas A&M, against teams like Rice, against teams like West Virginia. So it's like, I'm not sure if I'm convinced that Houston, going into a tournament full of all of these top-level teams, will they remain consistently good? That's my issue. I feel like it's a little too early to tell. They're still going to play Kansas again at the end of the season, so that'll really be kind of like your telltale, like, hey, they might be legit. If they can pull off a win against Kansas to end the season, then yeah, I'm looking at Houston as a very, very, very highly likely team to contend for a national championship. But until that matchup, I'm not too sold on it because I haven't seen enough from them against the teams that they've played.
I'm glad you mentioned consistency because that's my issue with a lot of these teams is that they'll be good for a couple of stretches and then it's like they fall to a team they should be beating. They'll get upset, basically. They'll get upset, and that's a big problem in the tournament.
But then again, that's college basketball. So that's the hard part of it all.
Yeah,
I was just about to say that's the beauty of the tournament as a whole and the beauty of this year. I mean, like we see a lot of very good teams up and down the top 25. Even at number 13, Illinois, you have Creighton. You have a team like Washington State. San Diego State played in the national championship game last year, and they're under everybody's radar right now. We have so many teams in such a wide field this year, and really the field's wide every year, but especially this year when there's no clear-cut favorite. That's what's going to make the tournament so great this year, because nobody's like we're all going to have our picks. We're all going to think. Like, we're going to say we're, quote-unquote, confident in some of these teams, but really none of us have any idea what's about to happen. And I think this year we're going to see some outright chaos. Well, maybe nothing as chaotic as last year. I feel like we're going to see a lot of things shifting, a lot of things happening, and I still like this Iowa State team to make a deep push.
Yeah,
I'm not selling my stock just yet. I like Iowa State.
They're good.
Look, here's the thing. You look at Purdue, great team, 21st ranked defense. UConn, great team, 20th ranked defense, according to Ken Palm. Houston Cougars, #1 defense in the country. Yes, their adjusted offense is ranked 16th, but defense, I'm going to go really old school on y'all. Defense wins championships. Now, yes, it's a very old adage, but guess what? It's true. In March Madness, what do we see Virginia do a few years ago? That offense was scoring 55, 60 points a game, but guess what? That defense suffocated you. And and there could be an upset where if your offense isn't hitting anything and the other team's going crazy from three, you can lose. That's how Virginia lost to UMBC. But if this Houston Cougars team plays defense at an elite level, they should be the favorite to win the national championship, because at the end of the day, that's what we can rely on. Sometimes them threes aren't falling. Sometimes those jump shots are not falling. But but defense, if you're able to step up, if you're able to stick, if you're able to block shots, get steals, I think that's what should be favored to win the national championship.
But that exact same argument can be put in place for UConn, the team who was the most defensive last year. They're still one of the best defensive teams in the league and the entire nation this year. And unlike Houston, they are deep up and down their roster. All 5 positions can go out and drop 20 if they want to. I think this UConn team, while Houston is ferocious defensively, UConn can attack you from a number of different ways offensively, when Houston really relies on their top 3 to get the majority of their points.
Now, if you're looking for a college student to be just like, choose a fine, upstanding young man like Richard Reed. Don't be like one of the college students who binge drank alcohol at least 3 times per week, because they are roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or a project as a result of their drinking. That is why Printer Sailors joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind students drinking should be done responsibly and in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take hangovers as excuses. Now, another quick break. But when we get back, the hottest, the fieriest debate of Sports Pack 2024, you're listening to Wolf Sports Network.
Hey, this is 5-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Pack, only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Did you know on-campus dining fits all your dietary needs? That's right, every single one. Head over to the grill for a burger patty or the salad bar for a delicious low-carb meal. Gavin, you didn't give me my sound effect there. I'm kind of disappointed. Follow Dine West on Instagram at UWGDine_West to keep up on your campus dining options.
Hot takes. You thought I was playing?
It's time to debate.
Hot take debate. Hot take debate. Hot take debate. Hot take debate.
Haven't heard that Sager in a while.
I know, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Might bring a tear to my eye. It's so beautiful. Now, for this hot take debate, Richard and I are going to be going at it because, look, your boy Michael Penix, he's a great college quarterback. There's no doubt about it. But I have him outside my top 5 quarterback prospects. Y'all know who the top 3 are. I got J.J. McCarthy 4th. I got Bo Nix. I almost call him Bo Picks because I'm so used to calling him that as an Alabama fan. 5th. And then 6th, I have Michael Penix Jr. Now, Richard, you think that's crazy? You want to debate it? Let me hear your side. Why is Michael Penix Jr. not only better than J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix, but why is he a franchise caliber quarterback for whatever NFL team drafts him?
I mean, if you cut on the tape, it jumps off the screen. His arm talent is ridiculous. He's an extremely accurate passer. He can put the zip on the ball, fit it into tight windows. He moves through progressions beautifully. We see him operating in this pass-heavy system, yes, but how does he operate through it? He breaks down the defense like a magician. The way he moves from progression to progression, moves off the safety well. Everything he does is catered to a pass-heavy offense. He is great. And then in the latter half of the season, when they started running the ball more, we got to see him operate in the play action. How dynamic is he when the run game is also going? And his arm still jumps off the tape. He can put some crazy zip on the ball. He has a very strong arm, and he is pinpoint accurate. Over his past 2 seasons, 4,600 yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. And then this year, 65% again, 4,900 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. I mean, this dude right here can flat out ball. He is dominant at the quarterback position. I mean, and let's be real, he was runner-up in Heisman voting for a reason. It's not like he was runner-up and Jaden Daniels got every single vote. It was a very close vote at the end of the conversation. I mean, Michael Penix has been one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in football the past 2 years. Now, people try to knock him because of his injury history, but now we've seen it. He's put together 2 healthy seasons, and what has he done? He has been one of the best quarterbacks in college football for the past 2 years. I don't understand how he's fallen down people's draft boards. People say it's because of his age. It's because of this. It's because of that. How about what he does on the football field? What he does on the football field is outright ball. He led a talented group of He led this Washington team to where they got. Michael Penix is that guy and should be treated as such.
Now, Brennan, before you get started, you made a comment during the last break talking about who Michael Penix should be compared to.
Yes, to me, he's a worse version of Tua Tagovailoa with some height. Now, let me explain that.
And that is so crazy. The
It's
only
not
thing
to me.
similar between them two is the fact that they're both lefties.
Well, here's the thing,
What else
right?
is there?
Okay, let's look. Injury history. That's a big-time concern. Arguably a bigger concern for Penix going into the NFL with his age than it was for Tua, right? Let's look at their lack of mobility. Penix, 8 rushing yards last year. Yes, you say he can scramble and run a little bit, but Tua could too in college. But the thing is, at the NFL level, I don't think they're going to be next-level creators outside of the pocket, whereas someone like J.J. McCarthy, I'm not saying he's a better quarterback right now today, but he's a magician outside the pocket. He gets out there, he makes plays. I feel like in this modern-day NFL, having a guy that gets outside the pocket, has a little more zip on those throws outside the pocket. Now, I'll give it to you. When Penix is able to sit up, step into his throws, make his throws, yes, he has a lot of zip, but sometimes there's a little bit of a wind-up issue there. Sometimes he can't throw to the left side of the field. If you look at his splits between the passer rating when he targets the right side of the field versus the left side of the field, there's a big-time difference there. He struggles throwing to the left side of the field. Now, Drake May actually struggles throwing to the right side of the field, so some quarterbacks have that. It can be coached out.
Okay, that's cool, but we don't have a stat like that on J.J. McCarthy because he hasn't thrown the ball enough. We don't know which side of the field he's strongest at because we've barely even seen him throw the ball. And when you talk about a mobility issue in the modern day NFL, you act like we don't see pocket passers have success. We're talking about Joe Burrow as being one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league at this very moment. And yes, Michael Penix may not run a lot, but we know he is mobile. When he does have to break out of the pocket and create, he does it, and he does it very well. He slides, he gets out of the way, he doesn't take those big hits when he has to run. But yes, you put him in a system where he can flat out sit back and throw the ball, he will pick anybody apart. And I wouldn't even say he has worse injury history than Tua, because Tua was coming off his catastrophic injury when he entered the draft. Michael Penix is almost 3 years removed from his last significant injury. And he showed us over these past 2 years that he has overcome that injury history and has even elevated his game, because when he was getting injured a lot, yeah, he was still slinging the ball a lot, but he was turning the ball over much more. Now he has a 65% completion percentage post-injury. I don't understand how that is just flat out knocking his game down.
My only point is this, right? I'm not trying to say Michael Penix isn't a good quarterback. He is. It's just when I look at him and Tua, yes, the lefty thing goes a long way, but they're two left-handed quarterbacks that have the same exact strengths, right? Michael Penix's biggest strength, you can say it's arm strength, but at the end of the day, it's his accuracy.
Right.
Tua, same exact strength. Accuracy. What are their flaws? Like I said, they're not the most mobile guys. Sometimes the decision making isn't the best. Sometimes when they're looking at the right side of the field, they struggle a little bit. Those weaknesses do parallel. Those weaknesses are there for Michael Penix. He had a pretty bad Senior Bowl performance. He didn't play in the game. It was up and down for him. We saw the same thing for Bo Nix. We see J.J. McCarthy. Yes, he didn't participate in the Senior Bowl, obviously, because he didn't. He wasn't a senior. He's only 20 years old. That is where the appeal is to me. You can get a guy on your team that is 20 years old, that is raw, that is fresh, that can come into that offense and build, grow. Michael Penix, going on 25 years old, yes, he was great in college, but historically, looking at guys with long injury histories that are older, that peaked in their fifth year, as a fifth-year senior, they don't have the greatest NFL success. Yes, you can say the arm strength is great, but I think his weaknesses are far too many to take him with a top 10 pick and be confident when you can get someone like J.J. McCarthy. And I'm not even saying he's worth a top 10 pick, but if a team like the Raiders want to trade up and get him, I understand it over a guy like Michael Penix that doesn't have the ceiling someone like J.J. McCarthy does.
Now, hold on. I want to raise the question, okay? I want to raise the question. You're saying that you think that J.J. McCarthy has the better upside in the NFL,
correct?
Right? And
Absolutely.
You're saying that you think Michael Penix has all the tools necessary to go and just
to be a very successful
to
NFL
be a very
quarterback.
successful NFL quarterback. Now, do we think that either one of them needs a specific system to fit in, or do you think Michael Penix is a guy that can fit any system, or do you think J.J. McCarthy can go into any organization and say, "This is my team now"? Who in your opinion is the better quarterback to go into a team, any team, and just say, "Yeah, we're gonna win here now"?
I feel like if you're just grabbing a guy and dropping him in a system and praying for success, it has to be Michael Penix, because we've seen him operate in different kind of systems. Even this season, in the tail end of this year, they switched to more of a run-heavy approach, and guess what? He still has success. Early on in the season, and even last season, we saw them pass, and he does it. He processes everything good. That was a great question, Gavin. But I have to point out something you just said. You were talking about his Senior Bowl performance. Now, if you watch him in the Senior Bowl when they did 11-on-11, yes, he didn't participate in the actual game, but he looked darn good when he was flat out throwing against that defense. But here's my thing. Why are we putting so much into his Senior Bowl performance? Why are we not looking at when he was out there on the field playing actual football games? Why does the Senior Bowl all of a sudden outweigh a past 2 years being second in Heisman voting and all this other stuff? How does the Senior Bowl, a 3-day stretch with a bunch of random players that all just so happen to be around the same age, get together, oh, yeah, here you're going to be in front of some scouts. How does that outweigh what he actually did on the football field this past season? I don't understand it.
I wouldn't say it outweighs it. I would just say
That's your
once
argument,
you remove
that was your whole argument.
My whole argument wasn't the Senior Bowl. My
But that's
whole
what you
argument is
said.
he's older. He has the injury history. He has a lower ceiling. See, here's the thing. If I'm a team drafting...
What is J.J. McCarthy's ceiling? What have we seen him actually do on the football field that warrants him going top 10 or even over Michael Penix Jr.? He was in a run-heavy system catered to quarterback success, so when he did look good passing the ball, it was play action. The only game where we flat out saw him, J.J. McCarthy, go win us this game was against TCU, a TCU team that went on to get thrashed by Georgia and Stetson Bennett of all quarterbacks. And what did J.J. McCarthy do? What did he throw, 2 or 3 interceptions? I can't really remember.
My only point is we're not drafting quarterbacks for what they did in college. It's just like the old adage. What have you done for me lately, right?
So
it doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what you did.
If it's not based on what they actually did in college, then what makes them what warrants them being a top pick? What warranted Will Anderson going number 3 overall if what he did in college doesn't matter?
What about Trayvon Walker? He went number 1 because of his skill set, and he's turned out really well. The thing is,
but looking back on that, would you have drafted Trayvon Walker number 1?
No. I would have taken Hutchinson.
You would have exactly. You're quoting Trayvon Walker, but really, if you could go back in time, you wouldn't have gotten Trayvon Walker.
Because it's not based on the skill set. It's based on what you've
about
seen on the
what they
field.
have done. What have we seen them actually do? Have we really seen J.J. McCarthy produce as a passer? No. Even in the game against Ohio State that they beat Ohio State this season, he did not look great. There were multiple drop interceptions. What is it? I see the upside. I see the potential. But what has he done to warrant him going over any of these other guys?
If you want to hear my answer, tune into Sports Pack on Thursday. That's all the time we have for this heated debate tonight. For Gianna, Richard, Gavin, and Brendan, shout out Kennedy. Thanks for coming on. We will see you on Thursday.
You are now listening.